You're listening to the Hella Well with Danielle show, a podcast taking women of color on a journey exploring all things wellness and travel related. We're all about showing you how to put on your oxygen mask first and creating lasting self-care habits that will free you to travel the world and live the life you truly desire, and not one you have to fake loving. I'm your host, Danielle Washington. Now let's buckle up and start this journey. Welcome to the Hella Well with Danielle podcast, your weekly mental vacation from the daily grind for busy women who just need a moment to pause, breathe, and woosah. I am your host, Danielle Washington, and I'm a recovering people pleaser. I'm a recovering overgiver. I'm a recovering person who gave way more than she possibly could give because that's what I knew. That's how I validated myself. I'm proud of where I am because back in the day, old Danielle would give to the point to where she was exhausted, where I felt like I just was on this hamster wheel, was in survival, and it just didn't feel good. Me of today loves to set some boundaries. Me of today has cut people out of my life that I felt like I just needed to not just say that I had a capacity, but I was like, I don't energetically, mentally, physically have the space to have you in my current life. And I'm okay with that. And that's great. I think that's part of the healing process. I think when you start getting on this journey and you start healing, you start getting to the point where it's like you're setting these boundaries. But what I wasn't thinking about and what I want to talk about in today's topic is, but what about all those other people who were benefiting from you overgiving? What about those people? And a lot of those people, your loved ones, people you care for, people that you probably can't cut off, or maybe you can, but and it got me thinking, is it our responsibility to start thinking about their feelings and how our change and our shift is affecting them? I think, yes, if you care about this person, it is our responsibility to think about it, but how do you manage other people feeling upset, feeling frustrated, sad, or whatever it is, angry at you for the shifts that you've been making to better your life? And how do you navigate that without feeling guilty or feeling like you have to go back to the quote unquote old you? So that's today's topics. We're talking about setting boundaries with loved ones and making sure you still can maintain yourself on the road that you're on. So before we get started, I always love to do a little tuning in, making sure that we're just collectively coming into this space, especially today, because I feel like we're talking about something that can be a little bit triggering. I know for me, it's a personal conversation because it's something that I am currently navigating, and I'll go into it more, but I think that let's just take a moment. If you can, close your eyes. And we're just going to do 3 breaths. We're going to inhale deeply and then exhale out of our mouth. So inhaling through your nose and then exhaling out of your mouth. Inhaling deeply through your nose and then sighing it out. One last time. Take the deepest breath you've taken all day. Inhaling deep, 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 deep. And then exhaling all the air out, connecting back to your natural breath, and fluttering your eyes open if they were closed. And let's begin today's topic. When you can't hold space for your loved ones because you A, don't have the capacity, or B, you set a boundary, what do you do? How do you navigate that? Because feelings are hurt. And I had a situation where someone that I was making a boundary with came up to me, was just like, look, I feel like you are, not being there the way that you used to be there for me. And they were right. I wasn't. What I realized is I've been making these shifts, but I haven't been telling people I'm making these shifts. I just was kind of distancing myself in situations, not because I didn't love these people. And I feel like when you're making these changes, it's not because we love someone less. It's that we love ourselves a little bit more. I think that's where I'm noticing the difference is. I'm loving myself a little bit more to where I'm like, yeah, I can't be there for everyone like I used to be. I can't be there for my parents like I love my parents. I'm going to get on my nerves. I'm not going to sit here and lie. But I love them. And I will do a lot of things for them. I love my family. But at the same time, I'm in a space now where I love me. And so loving me means I can't drop everything and be there for everyone at every second. Loving me means that I need to know when I don't have the energetic space or I don't have the physical capacity. And that's okay. And I had to be reminded that the old version of me no longer exists. And for me to choose to go back to the habits of the old me of people pleasing and overgiving beyond my capacity is me choosing to say F you to my well-being. And I'm not there. I kind of like my well-being. We become buddies, we're not BFFs just yet, but we're building a relationship and I like this new version of me. And I get that I created this situation. I get that I am the catalyst, and me making shifts in my life is a catalyst to shifting other people's lives. And I didn't realize that. And I personally didn't think about it. It didn't even cross my mind to be worrying or thinking about, well, how is me changing and taking care of myself affecting other people? But it does, because we have all these people who we've helped or, are part of our lives and have gotten used to us just always being there. It's like, I'm the yes girl. I was the responsible one. Oh, Danielle can help. Danielle's available. Danielle will always do things, because I wanted to be that person. I needed to be that person back in the day, but not even that I needed to be that person, because yes, it did validate who I was, but I enjoyed doing that, especially for people I care about. But it hurt me, and I felt disappointed that I hurt someone else unintentionally. I hurt someone that I really care about unintentionally by setting these capacity boundaries without communicating. And that's when I realized that was one of the biggest mistakes, is that I didn't communicate that. I didn't feel like I needed to, but hindsight, looking back, I guess I can see where it would have helped the situation if I communicated better. But I didn't. But here we are. And I'm taking accountability for my part in this situation, because a relationship takes two people, and I am open and aware that, yeah, my actions hurt someone and it doesn't make me feel good, but I can start off with saying, okay, this is the role, where this is where we are now. How can we move forward? And I have this conversation with you to say that, as you are growing and changing and shifting, there's going to be some reactions that you're not going to like. Some people are not going to like it. Some people are going to feel like you're, giving you guilt trips and make you feel like you're being selfish or accuse you of being selfish. So how do you navigate when you're feeling guilty or being accused of being selfish for taking care of you or not being there for someone else? How do you manage that, especially when it comes from a loved one? For me, in the situation I was dealing with, and the best advice I can give, is that active listening and validating people's feelings, but also looking back and doing some self-reflection and understanding your motives. I had to sit back and remind myself, why did I set these boundaries in the first place? I was doing it to preserve my mental, emotional, physical health and well-being. It wasn't about rejecting anyone. It wasn't that I cared less about someone. So understanding your motives, but also assessing the situation. I had to look at the situation like, okay, what was my role? How could I have done this differently? How could I have taken more into account someone else's feelings, especially someone who I love, and consider whether the guilt is self-imposed as well. I mean, am I being like overly caring and overly giving in, like, oh, I was so wrong in doing something, and did I do something wrong? I had to ask myself, did I do something wrong? And part of me was like, no, but the other part of me was like, yes. The part of me that said no was that you did nothing wrong by taking care of yourself. I know that society and the old you has this way of telling yourself, the narrative is that you're supposed to be there for everyone at any time of the day. And that's not part of the new narrative that I'm rolling with. The part where it says, yes, I could have done something better was the part that said, you didn't communicate. I didn't educate my loved ones. There's sometimes those accusations of being selfish and you ain't taking care of people and you all grown and you changed and all these different things stems from a lack of understanding. When you're able to explain that you've set some boundaries and that you're shifting how you're showing up, people can get it, especially if they love you. When you say that you're doing these things because it's necessary for your well-being, people get it. And if they don't, maybe it's a big sign for you not to be around them in the first place. The other thing I realized in this situation was expressing my feelings, using I statements, of course, but expressing how I feel and how overextending myself in many different situations has impacted my life. How it's made me feel exhausted, how it's made me feel energetically drained, and how I feel now. And when you give people the benefit of the doubt and explain your reasonings, when you explain your feelings, I think people get it. And if they don't, they are not your people. I'm just going to say that right now. They're not your people. I think one of the hardest part of having a loved one confront you when you've set a boundary for your well-being is, like, how do you not go back to your old ways? There's times when, you get in situations that trigger responses. And so I invite you, when you get in these moments where you're like feeling like you're maybe going down that same road again, think of those triggers. What are those triggers for you? Is it when someone says, you've disappointed them and that they feel upset because you're not showing up the way that you used to? Have a response prepared for that. You can tell them, I understand that this is important to you and it's hard for me to say no. However, I need to prioritize my well-being right now. So let's find another solution together. Or maybe it's someone saying, you're being hella selfish. You not being there for me, when, I need you the most. It's always when I needed you the most. I don't know why I sometimes use voices. But like when someone says, you're being called out for being selfish, for not meeting someone else's expectations, have a response prepared for that. I hear your frustration. It's not my intention to upset you. Like, I'm setting this boundary because it's important to my health and my well-being and my balanced life. And it allows me to be more present for you and for others in the long run. Or if there's other times when people come at you and they're just basically saying to you, implying that, oh, I've been there for you and now you can't be there for me. Because someone's going to say that. Someone's going to give you the guilt trip of, I was there for you when you needed me and all of a sudden now you can't be there for me. Have a response. Your response could be as simple as like, I don't know, like, I truly appreciate what you've done for me and I'm grateful. But my decision isn't about reciprocating love, but it's about, taking care of my needs, which doesn't diminish my gratitude for everything that you've done for me. Or there's always going to be that situation where someone's like, it's an emergency for them. It's this last minute request that is framed as an emergency. And how do you handle that? One of the things I would think to say is like, I understand this feels like it's urgent, but like currently unfortunately I'm not available. I've committed to XYZ. And often like we can brainstorm the situation, how we can work this through this, but right now I unfortunately am not available. And I invite you whenever you do any of these things, because it's going to be new. It may feel triggering. It may feel energy, your body may feel off. Do some breathing. Doing like the breathing like we do in the beginning of these sessions, where just inhaling deeply and exhaling through your mouth. Do some shaking, whatever it is, because until you start getting used to this new habit of setting boundaries, this new habit of disappointing people, because if you are in recovering from being an overgiver or a people pleaser, you're in a new phase of your life where you're now experiencing something you probably didn't feel before, which is disappointing other people, because you've always been there for everyone. But now you're being there for you. And that's a great thing. And when you're able to communicate with your loved ones why you're doing this, validating and listening to them, I think it makes it a little bit easier. At least that's what I'm working with. So I'm curious, are you going through something like this? Have you gone through something like this? Is there any advice you can give me that I can give to other people? Because we're all learning. This is all like this large classroom called life, and we're all navigating it, and we're going through it. Having these moments is a side effect of your healing journey. No one talks about it, or at least no one talked to me about it. It's like same thing with menopause. No one talked to me about that either. But this is a side effect of the healing process where, there's another side. When you stop people pleasing, when you stop over giving, there's someone on the other side of that relationship that's like, yo, what are you doing? I did not approve this relationship shift. And it starts a new conversation. Honestly, it's a renegotiation of your relationship. Some people are going to be willing to renegotiate the terms, and some people are not. Either way, please honor you. Know that you made these boundaries. You set these capacity settings for a reason. And the reason is because, hey, you freaking matter. That's all I need you to know. You freaking matter. I'll see you next week. Ciao. Thanks for joining us this week on the Hello Well with Danielle show. Make sure to visit our website, hellowellwithdanielle.com, where you can subscribe to our show on iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon Music and never miss an episode. Also, you can follow us on social media at Hello Well with Danielle on Facebook and Instagram, and Hello Well Danny on Twitter. And if you like hella love the show and got some good nuggets out of it, know that I'm not too proud to ask for you to please leave a rating or review on iTunes so that we can continue to expand our reach and help other women of color. Again, thanks so much for listening, and I hope to see you next week. Ciao.